What is happening, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fresh Hope for Better You. I'm your host, as always, Oliver Goulet, and I'm here to bring you some fresh hope for your day. As always, I like to start off by saying thank you for each and every one of you that tunes in every single week. It's been pretty awesome. I've been really enjoying this podcast, and you guys have been enjoying the guests that I've been bringing on. As you guys know, it started off with me just originally sharing my ideas, my thoughts, my stories, and hopes to inspire you to become a better version of yourself. And I started doing the interviews on Thursday, and I'm taking the podcast in a route where my brand is the Fresh Hope for Better You, and I want to, continue to bring people on that completely changed their lives and did a 180 like myself. So the Thursday episodes are going to be called Stories of Fresh Hope. And I hope that bringing on all these amazing guests that have completely transformed their lives will inspire you to realize that it doesn't matter where your past was, that you have a brighter future. And the only way that's going to happen is if you take action. So hopefully, I'm able to continue to inspire you guys. I appreciate all the ratings and reviews, and I'm excited to dive into today's interview with another fellow Arete brother, Gabriel Hall. Gabriel is a husband, a father, an entrepreneur, and the owner of Betcha Pest Control and Solutions. He's got an amazing story, and I can't wait to dive into it today. So, welcome aboard, Gabe. I'm thankful for you to be here, man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so let's dive in. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about your story?
All right. So, like I said, I'm a husband, father, business owner. Years and years ago, I was the youngest of five kids. Parents grew up in the country, didn't have too many friends out besides older siblings who loved to pick on me all the time. Dad was the over the road trucker, so wasn't home very often, and mom worked a lot. We were kids that pretty much raised ourselves back in those days. Um, School wasn't good at that. Illiterate, didn't learn how to read until I was 19 years old, actually. So school was really, really hard for me. Everything except math because numbers are easy. But hung out with the wrong crowds and got into the wrong things, and life just spun out of control from there for a long, long time. So yeah, let's get into questions, I guess.
Yeah. So, I
Yeah.
mean, with you getting involved in the wrong crowds, I'm always talking about how your environment's everything. I mean, everyone that's in the self-development space has basically read Think and Grow Rich. And Napoleon Hill discusses like you are the sum of the five people you spend the most time around. So tell me about your environment when you were going through, that not so bright part of your life and what that had to do with it.
Oh, definitely. I can pinpoint the exact moments. So I grew up in small town Wabasha. Small town USA. It's more inclusive than what people think. If you're an outsider, you're kind of shunned. At least back then, you were. And so I hung out with all the other outsiders, kids that moved there from other towns. Parents were just looking to get out of the city and this and that, and we kind of just clung together, and we started causing our own little trouble at first. No real problems, but everything, it just starts to escalate and escalate. Got into weed, got into drinking. We were the ones throwing the parties out on the beaches and stuff like that. I always had the older friends that had the weed and everything like that. So we were the ones that kind of were the go to. But we were also football players and basketball players and all those other things. We kind of meshed together. We didn't have the click click type of deal, but it was separated, and one by one we started finding new drugs and new partying and getting away from what the norm is really. So uh,
Yeah,
uh,
no, I mean that's honestly very similar to me. I mean, I grew up the jock and I kind of felt like an outsider going through high school and stuff like that. I partied my ass off. My parents were actually like super cool with me throwing parties at my house because they knew it was safe when I was around them. And that way they could keep me out of trouble because I was the youngest of six and all my other siblings are kind of fucks and got themselves in a bunch of trouble. And I also grew up in the country, so it was more of a safe space. But yeah, I do relate to you on like very much so with going down that path of being the outsider. Starting with getting into weed, I had older friends that had the connections for weed. Then I got into weed, and then eventually it started getting into the harder drugs. Like for myself, it was cocaine, pills, ecstasy, all those, the party drugs that are not necessarily good for you by any means, and they can definitely lead down a dark path. So I know that you got some backgrounds. Why don't you share your experiences with what those extracurricular drugs led to and what made the transition for yourself?
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, the first time I ever tried other drugs, I was closer to 15. Dirty old trucker let me hit his meth pipe, and I loved it, but it wasn't something that was readily available to me and everything like that. So every once in a while, I'd get at it and everything like that. Maybe once a month, but nothing really started taking off until I was 17. I dropped out of school, went to an alternative learning center, got kicked out of that. Then I went to another one, got kicked out of that. And I just said, well, I'm just done with school. Tried the homeschool thing. I'm just, nothing really stuck with that. Excuse me. And my parents sent me to live with my uncle out in Oregon for a little while and try and learn roofing and everything like that. I realized I do not like roofing. I don't like that manual labor stuff out in the sun like that. And so he sent me back after me taking his truck out to a teenage nightclub thing. He said I could, then he said I couldn't. So I just went with the first answer instead. And, sent me back on a Greyhound. And right when I got back, I moved in with some friends instead of staying with my parents because obviously I was an adult then, since I was able to be kicked out of houses and everything like that. And that's when more and more meth started coming my way. I started getting more of that, mushrooms, you name it, it was readily available to me, and I was able to get some kind of stuff. But like all that, we seen this guy pulling a jet ski up, and me and my buddies thought that would be fun to ride. He was storing it for the winter, so we went and jacked that thing out of the garage and went riding on the Mississippi. It broke down that same day that went to go and try and fix it so we can get it back. The house was raided. A bunch of mushrooms were found and everything like that. One thing led to another. There was incidents with fights between us and other groups of people, and just everybody went. I got popped for theft of a motor vehicle. In Minnesota, we don't have grand theft, but and got sentenced. The owner of it said he didn't want to press charges, so the state picked it up, gross misdemeanor. As long as I stayed good, it would be all good. But other people got theft of robbed a bar, a whole bunch of money, and another person got stabbed. And it was just completely out of control. And, I got sent away, treatment and everything like that. And I thought my life was going good. I had that sobriety high, if you know what I mean. Once you get out of treatment, you're going to do great. And then all of a sudden, I met somebody that was like minded, and he was fresh out of prison. And it just kind of went back down that spiral, birds of a feather flock together type of deal. I got back into meth and back into doing stupid stuff and started up in my game, started hanging out with cooks and everything like that, and more dirty bikers and all those other fun little people. And before I knew it, I was running guns too, along with major weight of meth, max more scary people where I could get larger quantities, and started getting into that stage where you could sell higher amounts and have crews, and just life was getting too scary. I was enjoying the ride, but my reality was broken. Sometimes I would feel like I was a god just because I was just that far gone, and took a lot of help from a lot of unfortunate circumstances. The most was getting DUIs, just drinking and driving, and they locked me up, and I started getting sober and seeing things. But the biggest difference was when I was 19, I got locked up in jail with a convicted murderer who helped teach me to read, because he told me to read my paperwork, and I couldn't. So he sat there for months helping me like I was in kindergarten again. All right, what is this these two letters together make that sound. That's how uneducated I was in that time. And then I started reading. Books opened my world up. I could see about other people, their lives, what they had written, and it started bringing new perspectives. Still took a couple of years to get my head out my ass and everything like that, but it was the process. Right there was my turning point. So
That's incredible. The fact that a murderer was the one to teach you how to read and allowed you to change your life. I know when I was growing up, like, I didn't do any jail time or anything like that, even though I was doing a lot of hard drugs, selling a lot of hard drugs and stuff like that. I got blessed. But up until I started my self development journey, I think I read 2 books total. Like, I wasn't illiterate, but I was super good at school because I knew the right people, how to get the right answers. And like you, I was really good at math and I could bullshit. And school's all about being able to bullshit. And I made my way through, got good grades, went to school, but deep down, I knew that that really wasn't the route. And then luckily, after finding Andy Frisella and then the 75 Hard program, that like truly changed my life. And it allowed me to realize that, going down that dark path of, being surrounded by all these quote unquote, I mean, they're just flat out fucking losers. Those people that operate in those areas of the world, those are the people that, make the world a shitty place. And I
yep.
used to hang around all those people, and that dictated where I was going because you are the sum of the people you spend the most time with. And I had the one realization, like come to realization moment was I was literally like super coked out, had a bunch of shit going on, had broken up with my girlfriend who I'd been with for 3 years, just lost one of my grow facilities in a fire, and I was laying in bed. I had this like epiphany, and I saw this vision, and I was at a funeral, and I saw all my family and friends there, and then I saw my mother just bawling her eyes out, saying he was too young, and I like realized that I was at my own funeral, and that's where my life was headed. And it comes to turn out that a few months later, someone I used to associate with, hang out with, got a bad batch of cocaine that was laced with fentanyl. He died, and I could have
Yeah.
easily been there. And the fact that I had that epiphany, like God, I don't know where your faith is, but I'm a huge believer in God. He does everything for a reason. The universe, they all work together. And that was the last straw of him like warning me because I had all these other things showing me like, dude, you're fucking up. You're going down the wrong path. You need to make a fucking change now. Otherwise, it's gonna be bad. And that was like the last straw. That was my epiphany moment. Where it was like, fuck, man, I'm put on this earth for something greater than that. So it's just wild to hear like literally a convicted murderer. I don't know if you've ever like tried reaching out to him and thanking him for teaching you or anything like that, but I think from my perspective, that was God being like, all right, Gabe, this is your time to make a change. And I'm going to show you with someone that made a huge mistake that'll never be able to make up for it, but you can make up for yours. And it's that right there is fresh hope. That is
Yep.
what this is, my podcast, my brand, everything's about, is the fact that you can change your future. It doesn't matter what your past is, you can change the future. And you did that. And it just happens to be that a murderer taught you how to read. And now look at you today. You're an entrepreneur. You're part of Arete Syndicate. You've changed your life. I've seen, your pictures. I don't know if it was a Tough Mudder or a Spartan race that you did, but your profile, I
Tough
love
one.
that. That's awesome, man. So like, tell me your story on how you like made the transition after getting out of jail and stuff like that. What was like, what did you start doing to start your own business and stuff like that?
All right. So, um, even after I got taught to read, it was many years. I had friends that died. Those were waking moments. But actually, tomorrow, Halloween, will be 13 years clean off methamphetamine. So, what
Hell
happened?
yeah, bro. Hell yeah. I'm gonna stop right there. Fuck yeah, bro. That's awesome.
So, what happened was, I got taught to read. So, I felt more intelligent. A friend of mine at the time kept calling me stupid all day. And it just started bugging me, and we got in a fight. And I grabbed my garbage bag that was everything I owned, packed up in my beat up old, I think it was a Buick at the time, just old, didn't even have a tailpipe on it, so just loud as hell. And
Sound like a
went to my
boat.
folks' house. Yep, the old school one, and ran away. I went home to mom and dad's. Of course, they were on vacation, and my brother woke up and said, "What the hell are you doing here?" And I said, "I don't have anywhere else." And he called my parents up in Belize, and said that I think Gabe finally broke. And that that right there, I spent a couple of months just bumming around the house, being fat and lazy. They put me on breathalyzer machine at the house, so I couldn't leave and everything like that. I was on probation for my third DUI at the time, and um, new PO asked me what I wanted to do, and I said, "Well, I'll go to college." So told me to enroll in college. Once I enrolled in college and I had a meeting with him, he said I had to make one friend, just one. And I wasn't good with people. All the people I knew were just not so good people, and I didn't want to deal with them, especially, within a couple of months of being sober, less than a year. So instead of making a friend, I joined Student Senate. So I ended up being the public face of my program. I was legal administrative assistant. I wanted to be a lawyer at one time. And I ended up going through the ranks of Student Senate, getting more and more confidence of being able to talk and meeting new people, different perspectives. And it just opened up my eyes. When I started meeting all these other people, I became the president of my Student Senate. I was general counsel alternate on the state level, Minnesota State Student College Association, I believe it was. And just the number of people that I met, the traveling that I did to do stuff. I was part of a group that went to Washington, D.C. to meet our congressman at the time, who was a dick, who's now our governor of Minnesota, who's still a dick. And just the fact that not even 5 years prior to that, I was sitting there choking on a meth pipe. And then I was coming to that. I finished college, got my degree, moved in with my girlfriend, and I was changing my mind on what I wanted to be. I wanted to become a teacher instead. Elementary school, get them before they're corrupted by the system, give them better hope. But she was also going to college and then working part time, so I chose to drop out and I got a full time job at a milk plant and was doing really, really good. Then I got in a motorcycle accident. Guy pulled out in front of me and I rear-ended him. No, I had a messed up shoulder and bleeding from my liver and laid off for a month with less than $1,000 to my name. At the same time, I was getting custody of my daughter. We had just adopted a dog, and we're trying to find a house to move into. All this stuff was just coming into play, everything. But when I went to turn back my paperwork, seeing a now hiring sign, and it was a pest control company. Didn't even realize what they were doing at the time. But I stopped in. I gave a 2-day notice at the plant. Um, Started from the bottom. It was Bob the Bug Man. Still around, still a good guy and everything like that, mentor. But I started at the bottom, pulling hose on farms, the nastiest, dirtiest job you could think of. I literally had cow shit punched into my face, down my mouth, and everything. Oh, it's nasty. And I grew up on farms. That was the worst I ever got it. But then I learned that craft and I took it to the next level. I was the main guy to go to spray for farms. And then one day the owner of the company called me up and said, "Do you want to buy this portion of my company out and go out on your own?" And that was late 2019. So I did did the farm routes, built up everything during 2019 or 2018. And then so 2019, my last year with him, I started doing everything on my own through his company, just kind of get your feet wet and everything like that. The next year, March of 2020, the same week that Italy closed their doors for COVID, I opened my business. And it's been, I got 80 clients to start out with, paying $100,000 for them. And every year I've just built up and built up and built up. I keep reading more and more. I keep excelling all my knowledge. I hang out with people that are trying to do bigger and better things. One of my best friends is the owner of the gym that I go to. We have big plans to do stuff eventually together. I'm writing a book on my journey of all this. So yeah, I don't know if that was too much for you or not, or if you
No,
able to
dude, that
follow
is
it.
perfect. No, that is freaking awesome. It just goes like to show that you can transform your life and that, even in the darkest times, there's opportunities. And so many people just like, they play the victim card and stuff like that. And I'm sure that's crossed your mind many times during your journey, like
Yeah.
it does with everyone. Like, yeah, I've done it. I mean, everyone has done it. But the fact that you realized that and you took the opportunities that were in front of you and now you run your own company and you're absolutely fucking crushing it, to not to mention, like, dude, it just goes to show if you were illiterate until you were 19 years old and now you run your own business, you're part of Arete, you're surrounding yourself with like-minded people that push you to become better. And I know for a fact if you would have just went back and started hanging around the same people, you wouldn't be here talking to me today. It's just those little changes that make the biggest differences in people's lives, and it just doesn't happen overnight. It's just one little change here, one little change there, and then it just compounds over time. And it's just a prime example of your entire life. Like thinking back 10 years from now, you never would have thought about it. You were just on TV getting interviewed, correct?
Yep, for our local Masonic Lodge. I've been a member since 2015. We did a trunk and treat drive-through event. There's still a lot of trunk and treats. Kids get out of their cars, come up to the cars. We still have the drive-through way where kids don't have to get out of their car, and we're right next to Ronald McDonald House and St. Mary's, one of the original parts of the Mayo system, that hospital. So there's kids that can't even walk or go out. They have immunocompromised. They can actually come through and enjoy the festivities like every other kid on the planet gets to do tomorrow night. Go trick or treating. We dress up and everything. I had a funny little purge mask and the light up stick man. And I was doing dancing and skipping around in the um, cross area, cross streets, directing traffic and everything, having fun, talking to the kids and making funny noises. I get into it right away. Halloween is my favorite time of the year, not to mention my sobriety birthday.
That's awesome, man. That is amazing. I love to hear that. Giving back to the kids. And you mentioned when you wanted to be a teacher, you wanted to get like be able to help the kids before they're just basically brainwashed into our
Yep.
system, stuff like that. And I know that's a huge topic. Like, what gave you that sense of feeling that you wanted to do that? Was there like a realization that kids are just getting kind of screwed over, just being put in these systems, or what was your thoughts on that?
So 6 months before I got sober, I had found out that I might be a dad. It was between me and another guy. That whole scenario, it was a bad night for me and ring a ding kid. It was the best mistake ever in my life. She's not my reason for sober, but she's one of the bullet points of being sober and everything like that. I'm happy to say that I've never used meth since before she was born, and I'll be able to always say that no matter what. Um, but it was trying to continue on that path. I lost my train of thought there for a second. Sorry, but I want to repeat the question one more time, real quick.
And so, what made you want to, try
Oh,
to reach the youth?
yeah. I realized all the lives that I ruined while I was doing stuff. If somebody with my perspective on life would be able to reach those types of individuals before they ever came into the dark side, whatever you want to call it, they would have a better chance at avoiding that. And I could possibly steer so many different lives from all the horrors that I see. Well, there are still nights that I will wake up just sweaty and scared shitless of the stuff I see, and I don't think that'll ever go away. You know, they you could have PTSD from it. I'm not 100% sure. I don't like going to the doctors to get prescribed stuff or diagnosed with stuff, so just kind of deal with the old-fashioned way, tough grit. So,
Yeah,
but
no, that's man. Yeah, so I understand where you're coming from with like the lives and stuff that you impact in a negative way. Um, because I was in that same boat. I came to a realization when I was selling hard drugs and stuff like that. I took a step back and I realized like I'm an addict myself and I could be the one stopping this, but yet I'm pushing it just to make money. And that's part of the reason why I do what I do. I'm huge on social media, trying to get people to better themselves and, make the changes and stuff like that. And just showing them that, if I can do it, they can do it. I'm just a regular ass dude, just like you. And we made the change and now we're making a difference in the world. And I think that with where the world stands currently, we need more people like this, but a lot of people are afraid to share their story. This is what this, like you were saying, you've never done this before. You've never shared your story, right?
Yep. Just in the
And the
hall
amount,
a long time ago.
yeah, and see, I'm thankful that I did start sharing my story because it gave me peace within myself and it showed that I'm vulnerable. Like everyone makes mistakes. Like at first I was like, all these people are going to think of me differently, but that was literally the complete opposite. Now I own that and people are like, yeah, dude, look what he's done with his life. He's completely transitioned it. Now he's helping other people. And I'm excited for everyone to be able to hear this, like sharing this, because now people are gonna like look at this and be like, okay, if this dude can do this, why can't I overcome this? Because me and you both have very dark past, and a lot of people they think they have dark paths and paths unless they hear someone's story like mine and yourselves, and they're like, damn, if they can overcome that, why can't I overcome what I'm going through right now?
Yep. No, definitely. And that's the reason why I'm working on this book of mine too. That I can show. I'm not going to bring up every example of when I was using. I just mainly want to focus on the steps, sayings, the clear messages that I've used since I got sober, and how I've slowly built to here. A lot of people think it's like the phrase under they overestimate what they can do in a week, underestimate what they can do in a year. Take that from 1 year to 10 years. Imagine all the things you could do in 10 years. And that's what I want to leave them with on, I wouldn't say my legacy, but what I want to help people with. So these are just the first steps to getting it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And don't whenever would you have a like a deadline where you're trying to get the book published by?
I do not. I do need to start one. I got a working title. It's called Pivot Up.
Give
So
it up.
because whenever you're stuck, just like basketball term, you need to pivot. You need to figure out which way you're gonna go. Is it good? Is it bad? But you need to be able to weigh a lot of options a lot quicker and keep with that speed all the time. And yeah, you're gonna make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. I make 1,000 of them. I think I made 10 yesterday. But it's how fast can you learn from them? Over time, you just get really, really fast. And some of them, you're not even learning from them. It's just, oh, that happened. Brush it off. You don't even need to worry about it. But you always keep that in the back of your mind and everything like that.
Yeah, it's all about moving forward. And I love the pivoting thing because yeah, the doesn't matter who you are. You could be Andy Frisella, Ed Milet, you could be me or you, and guess what? They get shit thrown at them all the time. What do?
Yep.
They have to pivot.
Yep.
Everyone's got to. Everyone deals with shit, and I think a lot of people they tend to move backwards instead of pivoting side to side and finding an alternative, or they look at failure as something that they're never going to be able to overcome. But truthfully, the only time you fail is when you give up. Like there's always a
Yeah.
way to figure out a way. I mean, I know there's tons of problems in both of our lives that we've looked at one time. We're like, damn, we're never gonna be able to overcome this, and then we figured out a way because that's just who we are. And anyone can do that. They just have to look at it from a different perspective. They have to talk to that other person that might give them a better idea of how to do it. And that's where the power of like your environment comes in. And that goes into like talking about Arete. When did you join Arete and why? What was the reasoning behind it?
So when I was transitioning from starting my own company within Bob's organization, I got handed another driver. He was my replacement, so I was training him, and he liked podcasts. I had never listened to podcasts. I thought they were just for geeks, that some kind of Dungeons and Dragons stuff, and I wasn't into that stuff. And then he's listening, and I'm like, this stuff's stupid. But one night, I'm like, well, I got Spotify. I started looking, and then tried this one. No, don't like that. Don't like that. Then seeing a picture of Andy Frisella on the MFCEO project. I'm like, well, this, whatever, let's try this one. Within the first 5 seconds, this guy is swearing worse than me, worse than I've ever seen. And I always called myself a sailor for swearing all the goddamn time. And I liked it. So I kept listening to it. And I'm like, oh, this is business. This is business. This is building me up. And I learned a quarter of what I know about starting business and how to keep going in the grit. And one of the biggest phrases, I wrote it on a sticky pad and put it right on my rear view mirror so I'd see it every day, is do it anyways. Just do it anyway. So when I was stuck on something like that, for work, family, whatever it is, well, you got two choices. Pick one and do it anyways. Whether it's going to hurt or it's not going to hurt. You got to, I've survived all my worst days up to today. And so far, I've had pretty good luck. So just do it anyways. Those podcasts right there, I got into Ed, then um, Order of Man podcast, Ryan Mickler, Brad Lee. And then all of a sudden I heard this phrase Arete and I'm like, oh, and then I didn't hear it again for a while. And then I heard it again when Ed and Andy both had a podcast together, I believe. And so I finally looked it up and I kept it on notifications. And at the year I started my business, or year after I started my business, 2021, I believe I joined. It's open. And I told my wife, and it's like, yeah, you should join. You talk about it all the time, this and that. Talk to Andy. My daughter was younger and she was listening to Andy in the car. I don't recommend that for parents to have their children listen to CEO, but I swore about as much as him, and she keeps it under her breath, so she learned a little bit. But the openings came up and I jumped on it. And we had the offer of monthly or yearly. I'm like, no, dedicate a goddamn year to it. So I prepaid the year. Less than a month later, the summit comes up. And they're not the cheapest thing in the world, especially for somebody who's just starting out in business. I had zero money. Everything was trying to go back into reinvestment in the company. And I was sitting there on the fence. We were at a family get together and everything. And, like any family, we all butt heads and everything like that. And on the way home, like, I really, really want to do this. I really, really want to. I want to prove to my family that I'm better than what they all think I am. Because I was always stuck in my head that they're always looking down at me and seeing the old me. Nobody recognizes what I've become. We don't really share that proud of you stuff with each other. And my wife pretty much said, well, then stop being a bitch and do it. And then that old jailhouse thinking came up, and anybody calls you a bitch, you're going to jump on the opportunity to beat the crap out of them. I'm like, fine, I'm going to do it. I went to the summit down in St. Louis, and it changed my life 100%. Everything up to that was just looking at a playbook. I finally got to go into a game where I could see how things are done. I was around people that were thinking the way I thought, trying to be around my family and friends around here. Nobody thought the way I was thinking. I thought I was all alone. And all of a sudden I'm in a group of 100 people that are all striving to be better and striving to get better and thinking the same way I do. But all them also had this point in time where they felt like they were alone. And so Arete's come into my life. I do the yearly membership every year because I'm dedicated for life. This has changed me in so many ways that it's hard to even put into words what it does for you. I get asked all the time, well, what's your biggest takeaway? You can't name one. You can never just name one. It's the lifestyle. It's the mindset. It's the emotional courage that it gives you to keep going forward. Most people are looking for permission. Well, you join Arete, you automatically have that permission to go do whatever the hell you need to do to make the world better. We practice excellence, and I try and live up to that. Lord knows I'm not excellent, but, it's progress, not perfection. I keep trying to get better every day.
Dude, I absolutely love that because It is the realest shit because the moment when you were feeling like you were alone, like you were starting that journey to better yourself, like you can't relate to anyone really that you're around unless you're brought up by someone that has those types of values. Because I know when I started my journey, it was lonely as fuck. When I first did 75 hard, I separated myself from all my old friends that, used to do drugs, party. And I was like, I'm all in on my business and trying to better myself. And it was no man's land. Like Andy talks about, like that transition period where you either have to decide to hang out with your old friends or you have to be lonely for a little bit till you find that new group. And that's what I found with First Form first. And then I found out about Arete. And then it was last year. I had it to be on my vision board was like, all right, join Arete because I had known about it for almost 2 years. And I was like, I need to join Arete before 2023 is over. I saw the Nashville live event and I was like, all right, I'm going to this and this will let me know whether or not this is it. Immediately from the moment I got there, when I started talking to people, I was like, this is it. Like these are the types of people I need to surround myself with. And after that, I was like, all right, on the way home, I applied. I was nervous as shit. I was like, dude, I don't know if I'm even RTA material, but I'm gonna try. And as soon as I got they send the email like saying, oh, it's very limited space. We're very selective. And it's like, well, guess what? You got in. And I was like, oh, what the, like, dude, what? And then it was just, ever since then, it's just been people that have elevated me and everything I'm trying to do. They make me think bigger. They make me want bigger compared to me just hanging around the average people that I can't even carry a conversation with because they don't think the way I do. And it's just having that tribe of people that truly understands that you want to do something great with your life. You're here to pursue personal excellence. You're here to better yourself and everyone around you. Like, yes, I love my family and friends that, like from the past, but like I even have to limit the amount of time I really spend around anyone anymore because they're just so draining. And I can't just, I'd rather spend the time alone or with my dog and my girlfriend because we think alike than be with someone that's going to say, oh, you can't do this or well, who do you think you are? Like, why are you trying to make yourself look better than us? And it's like, why aren't you trying to do that? Why aren't you trying to pursue something worthwhile? And like, I've gotten that time and time again from all these people, like, dude, you think you're better than me? And it's like, no, I'm not going to say I think. I know I'm fucking better than you because I try and you fucking don't. And I'm sorry, but that's the cold, hard reality of it is the fact that I try every single day. And yeah, I'm not perfect by any fucking means. I make, 100 mistakes a day, but guess what? I'm learning. And the faster you learn and continue to move forward, that's all that matters compared to just sitting around, letting life pass you by, doing nonchalant, like just getting drunk on the weekends or partying and all that other stuff that doesn't fucking matter anymore to me at all. And I'm happy that it happened to me at such a young age where I realized that. And now it's like everyone I talk to from Arete, they're like, oh, yeah, you have a good head on your shoulders, Oliver. Like, you're going to make some shit happen. I'm like, fuck, man, I'm trying. Like, that's all
Oh
I
yeah,
can really do is fucking try, man. And that's what I'm doing. So, yeah, dude,
oh yeah,
I've been asked, like, what's your biggest takeaway, too, from Arete? And I'm like, there really isn't one in it. If I had to pinpoint, it'd be like surround yourself by like-minded people that are that will push you to become better. That's what Arete is. Because every time you go in the Facebook group, you see people absolutely crushing it. Every time you have a question, you can ask in the Facebook group. Now it's to the point where I made it a goal of mine when I first got in because the first couple months I was like very hesitant on connecting. And after hearing Ed and Annie be like, the power is in the community of people. Like our calls are great, don't get me wrong, but that's not where the value of this is. It's in the community. And I put on my power list, connect with a new Arete member every day. So I was just reaching out left and right. And I was like, I could play hesitant. And then I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to reach out to all the big dogs, try getting to know them because what else do I got to lose? And they've all been in my position too. And they're all like, dude, I'm glad you reached out to me. I'm willing to help you. They want to see you succeed. And that's what like Arete is all about. Like, there's no one in Arete that you can't just flat out reach out to and be like, hey, I just want to connect and talk to you. You mind if I pick your brain for a little bit? Everyone's super cool. They're all about it because they want to see you win. And that's like, that is the power with Artes. Everyone wants to see you win because otherwise it would make Arete look bad. And that's not what it's about. We're excellent. Arete stands for excellence. And that's what we have to uphold our standard. And like, yeah, there are some people that slip through the cracks that don't hold themselves to a high standard, but you're going to get that everywhere. They can't fucking see through the bullshit on everyone. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
right. Oh yeah. When I got that letter, or that email, I started crying that I got in. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a tough boy and everything like that. I cry all the damn time. Um, I don't utilize the community as much as I should. Um, there's a podcast where Andy always, well, multiple podcasts, he tells people when they come and ask him questions, well, what would you do? And my brain thinks like that. All right, what would you do? And then when I keep getting stuck, that's when I come to the community. It's like I just can't figure this out, or else I'll have these what would you do ideas, and they'll all sound stupid to me because I sometimes I don't know better, and each one of them to community members is a decent idea. Might as well run with it. But yeah, I need to use the community more so and everything like that on that point. But yeah, just the power of us and everything. I mean, it's it's gonna make the world so much better.
Oh yeah, every person in Arete is making the world a better fucking place every single day. And that's like, so one thing I've noticed from being a part of First Form to Arete, like the standard of First Form is a little bit higher because they're all directly surrounded by Andy every day. And the standard there is incredible. And like Arete is just a little bit trickle effect down because it's all of us throughout the world that he can't like control. Like he doesn't live like next to us, and we don't see his standard personally, but like I do, and it's just like, okay, even if we have that trickle effect from First Form to Arete, what's the trickle effect going to be from Arete to the average person? Because I know, I'm sure you've noticed this when you started holding higher standards for yourself, everyone you associated with did too, right?
Yep. Yep.
And it wasn't
No.
because you were barking at them to start the self development journey. Because I know when I was doing that, no one wanted to fucking listen. When I started to do the shit myself, people started noticing. They're like, "Okay, what are you doing?" It's like, "Well, what I've been telling you to do."
Yep. So I've done 75 hard. I think I've done it close to 10 times. I've completed it twice because those times you keep failing the stupid progress picture at night when you forget about it. You're just shy of a gallon of water. It's like, oh, I can get. No, I can't get away. It's the standards. And then this earlier this year, um, where I work out and everything. One of the sales guys at that gym, he tricked me into signing up for a transformation program. And he not only tricked me, he tricked me into signing up my wife, which I was in the doghouse for a week because it was all right, show up on Saturday morning and let's go do a hit class. I didn't know what we were walking into. I thought it was, let's learn how to lift some weights a little bit. But no, it was a full on high intensity training class. And she was so pissed at me. But she kept going with me because I kept going with her. Neither one of us were going to quit. Next thing I know, she's signing up for 5Ks. She's done a whole bunch of them. She's got one in just a couple of weeks again. And I did a couple of them with her and everything like that and started getting a little bit more. And then all of a sudden it's like, I wanted to do a Spartan or something like that, listening to Mickler. He does all that stuff, CrossFit and Spartan races and everything. So I signed up for a Tough Mudder. And when I got up there, I looked at online all the obstacle courses. I'm just sitting there in my head. I'm just going to be a kid playing in the mud again. Just going to be a kid playing in the mud. I got there and I looked straight up this hill. Oh, it was called the Quad Burner and it wasn't lying. And I'm like, I started giving that self doubt. And then I'm like, what would anybody else be doing? And you signed up for it. You got to finish it. After I got over that hard hill, the first thing, everything else was a breeze. All the other obstacles and everything like that. And that's what Arete taught me. And that's how life is too. You're going to have this massive hill in front of you that you don't think that you can challenge. But if you've had training in the past, you keep getting all these small wins, just like powerless. We go into the gym and everything like that. That's you get up that first hill, you're going to be hurting, but everything else is going to be coming a lot easier and a lot smoother. But it's getting over those first hurdles, just like that first hit class, and being able to hold yourself up to that higher standard. And when I do that, I hold my daughter to a higher standard. Doesn't always take, she's a preteen girl, so lots of headaches there, but wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, no, that's a great representation of just life in general. Like I'm reading Outwitting the Devil right now by Napoleon Hill, and he talks about, your mindset and like the fear that is in your mind that you think that you're not gonna be able to overcome these things is like the thing that holds people back the most. And like you've seen that hill, you're fearful of it at first, but you're like, what's the worst that can happen? I'm already here. I signed up for it. You're gonna follow through with it. And once you got over that big hill, it became a breeze, and that can be applied for any area of your life. And if anyone's pursuing anything worthwhile, it's going to be hard. You're going to have a big ass hill to overcome. But guess what? It gets easier sometimes because you're able to handle it easier, like more efficiently and better because you've trained yourself. You push through those hard times. It's like me right now with opening up our new big facility. It's just been a headache and a half dealing with the city and the state the past year and just trying to get it all going. But I know once we're over this hill, it's just going to freaking roll. Like it's just going to be bread and butter. Like, yeah, there's going to be problems, but if I'm able to overcome this huge hill in the beginning, that's the hardest part. And then it's just going to be easier from then because you were able to persevere and push through and overcome that. So thank you for bringing that up because well, I am one of those guys. I do CrossFit every day. I do Tough Mudders. I'm all about pushing myself. And
There
like,
you go.
I just did a Spartan race down in Nashville a few weeks ago with my girlfriend, and like she was scared shitless to do it at first because she's like came from bodybuilding and stuff like that, and she wasn't really like an athlete, like a hybrid athlete like myself, and she was super afraid, but she absolutely loved it. Like she just thought it was the funnest thing ever, and I'm like, yeah, it's the thing that limits people is just the fear. Like once you're doing something, like the thought before it is just that's what's really stopping you. And once you get there, it's not so bad. And so many people don't realize that.
Yep. Yep. It's yeah, like I said, I was a kid playing in the mud. That was the mindset I got myself into. Who can't be a kid playing in the mud? I watched my wife do a tough tough girl or mud girl thing a couple months ago, and that was the reason I did it. I'm like, she can fucking do it. She loved it. I'm gonna love it. And
Yeah.
let's just do this shit. She's already gonna be signing up for the one I did, and I'm gonna be signing up for the one she did next year and everything. It's already a thing. It's gonna happen, you know. But yeah, and then the other part is surrounding yourself with the people that are doing that. That's why I love going to the gym because every time I go into the gym, you you're surrounded. You got a couple of them that aren't, but everybody is trying to get better. Everybody is being the highest performer they can in that kind of a setting. You get the occasional people that just walk around and take selfies and do nothing but stare at their phone, but you get that anywhere you go. Is seeing through that stuff and finding those people that are coming in to be the more dominant person. And that's just the way people need to live life. There's going to be all those other people, like Andy says, world always needs fry cooks. Let those people be fry cooks, you know. But if you can surround yourself with high performing people, you're going to push them and they're going to push you. And everybody's going to raise new standards. We're going to raise the bar back up to where it should be in this world.
Yeah, exactly. And like I think like with having people that are pushing you, I know when I'm like, having some self-doubt or not want to do something, I just think about, what about all my Arete brothers? What about, my best friends that are fucking dominating and stuff? What is that going to make me look like if I'm not holding myself up to that standard? Because, a lot of people do look up for me for, inspiration and stuff like that through social media. It's like if I'm not going to show up at least for myself, do it for these people, dude. You inspire people. And I get messages all the time because I've made a huge transition in my life and people are like, man, like, how'd you do it? And I'm like, well, just I fucking show you. I tell you the game plan. You just gotta do it. Like that's the biggest thing is just doing it. It's just following through every single it doesn't have to be every day. Like, people are like, oh, you have to work out 7 days a week, do all this. And no, you don't necessarily have to. I do it because I like it and it pushes me to become better. But you don't have to do that. You can start with going to the gym a couple days a week and being surrounded by other people because a lot of people I've had a lot of questions on, how do you find that next tribe of people? How do you find those things? It's like, well, where are you spending your time? If you just start changing those places, like, instead of sitting on the couch watching TV, go to the gym. You're going to be surrounded by people that are at least trying to better themselves. Like you said, there's going to be people that aren't necessarily like on that path, but there's more people there on that path trying to better themselves than not. So that's going to give you a better chance of being surrounded by those people. There's plenty of things that you can do to like surround yourself by better people. Yes, we pay a pretty decent like chunk of change to be part of Arete, but it doesn't have to be to that extent. You know, if you're a regular person that isn't an entrepreneur down that path, Arete really isn't probably the place for you. But if you're just trying to be surrounded by better people, the gym is a hell of a place to start.
Yep, yep, definitely. And if you get any gym, pretty much, there's always going to be that people that can sense that you're insecure. You go find the people that'll help you out with that insecurity. They're going to take you under their wing. They're not going to be your trainer, but they're going to let you start working out with them, and you're going to start get the rhythm. You're going to start being able to get that, and that right there is going to be a foundation where you can build confidence up in yourself, and that's going to change your life outside of the gym. You're going to be able to talk to people. My daughter hates when she's shopping with me because I'll find random people and I'll just stop and have conversations, especially when they have a veteran's hat on. Yeah, she tries to steer me away. Last time it was a guy with a Korean War hat on, and I sat there for 45 minutes in the right next to the women's section of Walmart, and she just couldn't get away because I was just sitting there talking, listening to a story, and yeah. So
No,
I heard years ago, Sean Whalen was on a podcast, and he said, "Be a lighthouse." I've kept that mentality with me since I heard that, and I love it because that's what I'm trying to do now is be the lighthouse for all those other people, and that aren't in Arete, and even some that are in Arete. If I could be a light, shine light on some area that they might need, because even if you're farther ahead, sometimes you have to go back in your story to learn something new. You have to find something from somebody else. But I don't spend my life anymore being a tugboat. I'm not going to go out and search for people and pull them up back because that's what kept me in my addiction back then. That's what kept me down in there because I was going to find people that were like me and I tried pulling them out, but my engines weren't strong enough back then. But when I stopped doing that and I just steadfast, I was a lighthouse, steadfast and shining what I could. My light may not have been as bright then, but now it is. I get messages from people from my past all the time, Facebook and everything like that. I see what you're doing. You're doing awesome. Keep it up. And those are tearjerker messages to me because these are people that knew me then and now they know me now. There's so many people that just know me now that can't believe what I was back then. And it's a good thing in a way. I don't want people to know me back then and everything like that. I wasn't the greatest guy. I was pretty much an asshole 24/7. Um, but yeah, it's all these little things that are gonna make the differences. But yeah, gym is gonna be the best place to start, no matter where you're at on your journey of getting better.
yeah. I love that analogy of the tugboat. I've never heard that one, but I've been in that position. And there was like reasons why I relapsed in the past is because when I was starting my journey and stuff, like I would try to pull all of these people behind, like with me, and I couldn't because I wasn't strong enough myself. And then they just got to the point where I was just, I continued to bark up the wrong trees and stuff like that, trying to pull all these people ahead when I should have been trying to just focus on myself. And then eventually I made that transition where I realized like, I can only open the door. I can't make them walk through it. I can only continue to show up every single day and show people what I'm doing through social media and how I'm working to become better. And if they want, they can ask for help because I can't just shove it down people's throats because it doesn't fucking work that way. You can't make someone change that doesn't want to change themselves. And I used to try like, because I didn't want to leave those people behind because I truthfully cared about them. I still do. But now it's just coming to the realization that I have to care about myself and I have to set my own boundaries that I can't, take 10 steps backwards to try holding someone's hand. Like I'm 10 steps ahead. I'll give you the plan, but you have to follow it. And if you can work your way up, then we can go together. But at the same time, like I can't take a step back to help you at this point in my time because I've tried. And it's just super draining. I know that it was probably draining the shit when you used to try doing that too.
Oh yeah, and it kept me in that victim mentality state all the time because I tried, poor me, poor this, and poor that, just because of this person. But once I stopped doing that stuff, once I stopped blaming everybody else, once I stopped even blaming myself, and I just started thinking, it was just a circumstance of the events that happened. I started changing the events and I learned new circumstances, instead of going to a tweaker's house to get your friend out. And then all of a sudden, 4 days later, you get to walk out because you're getting high, saying, maybe I shouldn't go there. Send them a text, hey, you need to get out. And that's it. And then put your phone down. Don't look at it again. And just keep going to do what you do. When they send you a text back finally, oh, yeah. What have you been doing? I've been doing this. Oh, really? Yeah, exactly. I'm doing all this stuff. What have you been doing? And you get that little tiny echoes in their head, be the Jiminy Cricket if you want. But stay away from that. It's, yeah. Sorry, I go on tangents when I talk sometimes.
No, dude, I love it. We're just here talking it up, man. And it just, the more and more you talk, the more and more I relate to you, man. And it just goes to show, like, there's other people, like, for the longest time, I was like, man, I wonder if there's anyone else like me that's had similar experiences. But, the more you connect with our team members, a lot of our stories are pretty fucking similar. We used to just be, saving them all and, bringing all the people we can. But now it's just like, all right, we got to continue to work with the people that are like-minded and are willing to help one another and actually want the help to move forward instead of trying to pull everyone ahead that, like you said, the world needs fry cooks too.
Yep. You got to find your tribe. You got to figure that out. Arete is one of my tribes. The other one is my Masonic Lodge and everything like that. But between these two groups, the amount of knowledge I've gained, the amount of self-confidence I've gained is just, in my mind, undeniable. I've done complete 360s 1,000 times over again from where I was back then. My pie keeps getting bigger and I keep filling it up more and more and more.
Oh, yeah. So at the end of every episode, I ask the guest, what book made the biggest impact on your life?
Oh, there's a lot of them. Oh, I'm trying to think of the name here real quick. It's about the Alchemist. The Alchemist. That I found that. So I found that in my brother's room. He passed away years ago, but we still have all this stuff. And I just was sitting in his room one day and I seen that book there, and it was hunting season. I spent the entire time out in the woods reading that book. I think I missed like 6 deer walking in front of me just because I was reading that book. I was so into it. Come back in for the night. I'd read that book. Next morning, I finished it in a couple of days, and I was a slower reader still at the time, probably a year or two ago. But just the fact that the treasure was there, was the treasure. Reading the book really opened up my eyes on the journeys we take and the things we find along the journey that make us who we are. Because we could be told, here's the way. This is all you need to know right now. But it won't make a difference if you don't go through it, take those steps and take those experiences and learn them yourself. And yeah, the Alchemist is going to be probably the top book.
Yeah, I absolutely love that book. I'm so happy because that's definitely in like my top 3 books all time. And just, the story of him going to search for what the treasures and then him at the end of the book, like realizing that it was there the whole time. And so many people, like, with us being high achievers, we always have these next big goals and stuff like that. But sometimes we forget to enjoy the process of getting there, and the fact that it's all a part of our journey, and the treasure is truly in the journey with us the whole time. And just that's something I have to remind myself all the time, is the fact that yes, you will get to that point in the journey where you think that treasure is, but truthfully, like, just being alive right now and being able to, do the things that we do on a daily basis, that is truly what the treasure is. And that's something that gives me a sense of like just gratitude and makes me realize like how thankful I am to be able to live the life I am, to be able to have the people that I do in my life, and continue to help others along the journey, because you can't make it through life by yourself. Like, there is no like self-made millionaires. There's none of that shit that everyone says. It's like, no, you need people around, and like you got to enjoy that journey with these people. And like, yeah, it's all about the loved ones and stuff like that, but that's just life.
Oh, love it, love it. So yeah, exactly. It puts it blissfully dissatisfied, and it took me a long time to figure out what that actually meant. Being happy in the moment. Everything's gonna come, but you got to be happy in the moment, and you got to be aware in the moment at the same time. Take it in, learn it, love it. Always be striving, always be moving and going to that next level, but learn on your journey, love on your journey, be there on your journey. There's months that I look back and it's like I didn't do anything. I just kept my head down and worked, but I don't have any experiences from the month. And sometimes higher performers we just get in that one track mind and just want to keep going and going and going. We forget to just stop and look around. Yeah, I
Gotta
did
stop
this.
and smell the roses. Gotta
Yeah,
stop and smell the roses. That's something I remind myself all the time. My girlfriend, we just started dating a few months ago, but she's really like put that in perspective. Like, she's my number one fan. There's no doubt about that. But like being able to take a step back and separate myself from the grind and stuff like that to actually enjoy what life has to offer, has just made it so much more rewarding. And knowing that I'm going to get there no matter what, especially if I just keep my standards, my disciplines, it just
yep,
makes it so much more enjoyable, the journey, compared to like the first few years of my journey. It was like, fuck you, get out of my way. I'm doing this and that's what's happening. I have to do this. And my whole perspective and mindset's changed around it, because I mean, even though I was crushing and stuff, like deep down, I was truthfully unhappy with myself. Even though I was crushing it, I was, not addicted to hard drugs anymore and stuff like that, but I still wasn't enjoying the process of it. And now it's to that point where I get to enjoy the process. I started a podcast so I can have great conversations with great people like you, and just being able to share parts of our journey during, this thing we call life is just, that's where the true treasures come from. Is that, the people, and like the saying, like, business is all about relationships, has just come into realization for me more and more and more. It's like, yes, business is business, but it's all about the relationships and stuff that you build. Because if I'm struggling in one area and I've built a great relationship with someone else, they're going to help me get through the tough point in this area, and they're going to allow me to move forward, and vice versa with that other person. It's all about the relationship you build with that person.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, in my relationship with my wife, she's my anchor. I'm the compass. I'm always pointed. We're going this direction. We're gonna get there. But sometimes I gotta be stopped where I'm at and be like, all right, is this the right one? What's going on around us? Where do we need to head in this direction? Let's get our bearings right. And she's the one that stops me when I'm going 30, 40 years in the future already. She lets me go talk it out, and then she stops me. Like, okay, what are you going to do today? What are you going to do right now? What are we doing this weekend? It's like, oh, all right. Like my family say, all right, we're going to do Thanksgiving. I'm like, don't tell me. Don't tell me. It, you tell Britt, and she's going to make sure that I'm showing up. If it's availability for me, I will be there. But she needs to know that. Yeah, she's the better half of me. Together you make a ship and everything like that. Um, the kid is a lot of hot air. She keeps us moving and on our toes a lot.
Oh yeah, I love that. One thing that stuck out to me last time I was down at First Form's headquarters was Sal Purcell was talking to us, and he said he told us a story about his uncle saying that, mentioning to him at all the family gatherings, because he kept bringing different girls and stuff like that, and he's like, oh, you can't. He said you can't be a king without having a queen, and that stuck with me hard. And the fact that in Outwitting the Devil, the devil talks about how your significant other is technically what your mastermind is. She can either make or break you, And the fact that, if you have someone that's a driven individual, like you have a mastermind, because two brains are definitely way better than one. And just having someone that, believes and supports you, but is also willing to make you take a step back and, smell the roses every once in a while, man, that completes life right there. So I'm glad that you said that, because that's a lot of things that I feel like the listeners, because it is a younger crowd of listeners, you don't want to spend your life alone, and you can find someone that you can absolutely just, conquer the world with. And I think more people need to realize that.
Yeah, be aware in the moment though with them, because she wasn't my first. She was my
Yeah.
second. First one was it was a nightmare, not a good time, but she saw me for me, and she heard about right at the beginning, the first 3 years of my sobriety is when we met and everything like that. And I told her all my backstory, and she didn't run. Any other girl that I dated prior to her in sobriety, and I told them about that kind of stuff, they all ran. But she stuck around for that, and that was one of the biggest things to me. You got to find the right one, the one that fits you, puzzle pieces and all that. Um, don't be in a hurry to settle down. Make sure you keep your standards with who you're going to be on your other half, your second brain, the mastermind of. Be conscious of what kind of power you're giving that kind of person, but don't be so conscious that you build that wall up that nobody can get past. Make sure that you have keyholes that they can find and get through those doors too. So
That's awesome. I appreciate you coming. Well, guys, I just want to say that this was Gabe's first time sharing his story, and I hope that this gave you some sort of fulfillment with being able to share it, because now I know that once this podcast airs and gets shared, I mean, I'm sure more Arete members will want you to come on and continue to share your story, so you can continue to be that lighthouse. Because yeah, even though Arete is a bunch of high achievers, everyone's got a past, and the fact that you're able to share your past and show what you've been able to overcome is going to inspire and impact numerous lives, even though it already has, and it's just going to continue to the more you share your story. So I hope that today gave you, a sense of confidence with being able to share your story, brother, and hopefully you can get on that book and get that coming out here in the next, this coming year. So I really appreciate you coming on, man. Is there anything else?
no, I appreciate having me on. This was fun, and I can't wait to keep doing this. It's feels great to share like this, and I hope anybody that needs help, maybe you can reach out to me on my Facebook, Gabriel Hall, my Instagram. Just click add and like. Send me a message. It's open profiles. So
Awesome, brother. Yeah, I'll make sure to have his social media platforms linked in the description below, guys. And I appreciate all of you guys tuning in once again. And always remember, there's a fresh hope for a better you.